Hi, I'm Cameron Caldwell. I'm the Director of Operations here at BevZero USA. Come on back.
Hey guys, this is Sid Patel, CEO of Beverage Trade Network and the International Bulk Wine and Spirit Show. I'm live here in this amazing facility in Sonoma at BevZero at the US head office here. I'm here with Pat. He's a VP of Operations here from Wine Hooligans and BevZero. So we're going to chat about really, what's happening in the space of no and low wine category especially, and focusing on the US market. And we're going to also later on take you inside the facility, show you around where Cam, their head of operations, is going to talk about and explain some of the production, methods about BevZero. So tune in and continue watching this. We've had a great momentum in the category. Everyone's jumping on board. I think it's also it's complementing where this young consumer is not drinking much alcoholic wine. So it's sad for in one way for the actual alcohol industry, but it's good for the non-alcoholic space. Like there's a huge momentum happening. What is your take on where the consumer is and where the category is heading, just on a macro?
I think on a macro basis, there's kind of an overall push towards a healthier lifestyle. And that's why we're seeing the low and no alcohol space really grow. Mm-hmm. And I think you're seeing the customer experiment a little bit more. You're seeing brands that are coming out with their version of a low alc wine within their own category, within their own brand, mm-hmm. which I think is very interesting. And you're seeing a lot of new entrants into the no alc space. With a lot of very interesting flavors and really nice products in that space.
This is our cellar. We have our operations lab is just over here. We have a couple of machines in there. The main one is the alkalizer, which we're doing alcohol percentage analysis on. That's our main business, is reducing alcohol. So we need to be very precise about our alcohol targets. We do hourly samples off of each of the machines to make sure we're in spec. And then we have a couple of other analyses we do prior to ship out, mainly sulfur. We have a number of tanks. They range from about 1,200 gallons to 1,800 gallons with various sizes in there, 6,000 gallons, 13,000 gallons, 2,000 gallons, so whatever the storage needs.
We were just chatting, that more and more money and big brands are coming into this category. So it is becoming serious, from the chain levels to big producers or even the spirits brands, right, are jumping in because they don't want to lose the shelf space. The game is about mm-hmm. shelf space. So, how much of a long-term investments are you seeing here versus a little short-term bandit fixes, or, what's your theory in this?
Very good question. We've seen over the last 3 or 4 months a number of brands go into this space and be relatively conservative with their first run of mm-hmm. product. But as they've been going through the bottling line, literally they've been saying, everything I'm bottling today is sold. Wow. How fast can I do this again? So we've already seen in the 3 or 4 months that we've been involved running BevZero, customers coming back, and if their initial run was 1,000 cases, they're asking for 3,000. And we're happy to help them grow. We've got that capacity, but it's pretty exciting.
We also have a rectification still. This still is primarily for increasing the proof on the distillate from the alcohol adjustment. So we sell high proof brandies for whatever the wineries needs. Would be sometimes sanitation or some fortification work, or some people just make sort of RTDs or any sort of beverage alcohol.
On the retail, that's where I want to pick your brains on, like Total Wines or BevMo's of the world. Are you seeing new store sets, new sections happening? Are we moving beyond like just no and low, or have they started writing sparkling no and low, Merlot or Shiraz?
I think that's a great question. I think this whole category is going to grow as the retailers figure out how to display it with anything else. We have seen some big retailers put up an entire no-alc section, which is terrific. We have a couple of customers, 3 or 4 I can name right off the top of my head, that have secured end cap displays at a major retailer and are pushing quickly to support those. So yeah, I think the retail customers are getting behind it.
Mm-hmm. I understand that we may not have like super accurate data because we are all still mining some data, but just on a if you had to just make a rough assumption, which states do you think have a higher growth chance? So if you were a winery launching a brand today, and you had your own brand and you said, all right, let me first go to New York and Texas, or maybe just California, what would you pick? Where are the more consumers of this category?
I don't know that we've seen a lot of things really specific by state. I can tell you a couple that are national programs. I think if I was a winery launching a program, everything starts in California, but you want to hit your the big markets and probably the big chain markets. So California, Texas, Florida would be the first few that come to mind. But our customers are already, distributing on a national basis.
Mm. And have you seen the entrepreneurs side, like the small guys who have to knock doors in restaurants and mom and pop stores? Have you seen growth there as well, or are they struggling a little bit?
Yeah, there's been a lot of growth there. In fact, a few of them are almost totally DTC, and that part of their business is really growing. When you don't have any alcohol in your product, there's a whole other set of laws about where you can ship it. So there's an advantage there, and they've been doing a really nice job of promoting the product.
The main items we have are the stills, which live in this room back here. It's called the H3 room. We have 4 stills, 3 of which are spinning cone columns, and the 4th is a rectification column. Each of the spinning cones is under vacuum, which allows us to distill at a much lower temperature than normal atmospheric pressure. So an atmospheric distillation would occur around 85 to 90 degrees C. In our vacuum stills, we can distill the alcohol out of the wine around 50 degrees C, which is much, much cooler, much gentler on the wine. A little bit about our process. It's a 2-pass process. So the wine will go from the tank through the machine once. This pass we call the essence strip. It's very fast and very cool. This pulls out only the most volatile compounds, a lot of esters and other sort of aromatic compounds. And we hold that aside, and that's called the essence, while the wine goes back through the machine for the second pass. During this pass, it's a little bit slower and a little bit hotter, and we're pulling out the majority of the alcohol. We overshoot our target, so if we're targeting under 0.5, we'll shoot for, let's say, 0.3% alcohol in the wine. That allows us to add some of that first pass's essence back into the wine, contributing to the aroma and the wine likeness. The smallest amount we can do on our small machine is about 150 gallons, so about 2 barrels. And we don't really have a maximum, it just comes down to runtime. Max throughput on the machines is about 1,000 gallons an hour. So in a day, we can process almost 2 trucks, 6,500 gallons each of wine down to NA levels under 0.5%.
Interested about the 7-Elevens of the world, right? Are you dealing with C-stores and whatnot? Because now it's just no alcohol. So have you got inquiries from those kind of retailers?
No, we don't get the the inquiries from the retailers. We get the inquiries from the brand owners.
Okay.
I haven't had a brand owner tell me that they've got a big C-store promotion yet, but I have had a number of brand owners come to me with, major retail end caps, displays that retailers want to get behind. And they're all, gunning for sober October and dry January. Those are the
just
big
for
drivers.
Fun facts. I mean, I think it's fascinating that the $7.99 wine becomes maybe $9.99 if you have to do this process, because in fact it becomes expensive, right?
Yeah.
So is that why maybe the low level value like C stores or something it just cannot afford? It's because it's in the range of like 9 to 15 maybe still?
That could be a driver, I'm sure. And you're correct that the sheer fact that you're taking 30% of your volume out of your wine when you take the alcohol out, because you're getting alcohol and water that you're removing, but your dollars don't go out. So your product costs a little bit more to produce, and therefore drives your price points up a little bit.
De-alkalizing wine would be the reverse osmosis machine, which we actually have one right here. They're fairly equivalent, but the RO can process a max of about 600 gallons a day, where we can do about 1,000 gallons an hour. So just in the matter of, the same lot could take the RO machine multiple days up to a couple of weeks, where we could process it in a single day and have it ready for ship out. Just a note about losses on the spinning cone. We do see about a 26 to 34 average 30% loss when we're de-alkalizing to below 0.5%. Most of this, it's about half and half alcohol and water. So when we're distilling the alcohol out of the wine, the alcohol coming off is about 50% alcohol and water. And so, it just makes sense starting with a 14% wine or so, you get about a 30% reduction in volume. That doesn't mean you can't add water back, because now we're dealing with a FDA product. And the majority of that water can be added back into the wine or a different source of water. It just comes down to the formulation that you're working with.
The big companies like Delicato or O'Neill's of the world, those big wineries, let's say Gallo, they would have a budget and they would have a play around money to sort of do this kind of activity and get into this thing. But then the medium-sized winery, they themselves are struggling today. Mm-hmm. How can it's so hard that they can now even see a category shift? The consumer shift has happened and it's happening, and now my God, the category shift, it's hard.
Yeah.
What's your way they can navigate and get into this category? And I think you are one of the great examples. They can use you, or maybe.
Mm-hmm. Well, first, I think one of the fallacies or hurdles to get over in this process is, if you're a medium to small winery and you've got some excess stuff that didn't make it into a blend, deciding to take the alcohol out of it and try to make a brand.
I like that. So if you have bulk wine, maybe you can use it this way.
Yeah, but you have to be careful. When you take the alcohol out, every other flaw in the wine, if there is one, is amplified. So starting from something that's really pretty good with good aromatics, that's going to get you your best low and no alcohol. The failure points can be when you come to us with a wine that's flawed in the first place. Mm-hmm. Then we take the alcohol out, and then you got a lot of work to do to make it taste good. So we do help any and all of our customers who want in the acquisition of bulk wine. We play on the bulk market all the time, and there's a lot to be said for having a good winemaker who can identify those things before you go through the process.
From the alcohol adjusting machines, that would be the crossflow over here. Crossflow filter, we use it for a couple of different things. If we need to make any sugar acid additions, we'll generally filter afterward prior to shipping back to the customer. We also have our reverse osmosis filter, RO machine. That's used primarily for VA adjustment, acetic acid removal. through the ion exchange columns, which are the blue columns right back there.
So we've just heard about this amazing announcement of Wine Hooligans coming on board.
Very excited. Yep.
Right. So I think that also opens up the service and the type of customers you serve. So let's talk about the sales cycle. What is a typical sales cycle here? What kind of customers you can now service, and what are your capabilities? How it increased your just capabilities?
Good question. So with Wine Hooligans taking over the operations here, we really offer a complete end-to-end solution for our customers. And it's a little bit a la carte, so you can also choose from any of the services. But now, if you were a brand owner or somebody wanting to start a brand, you can come to us with a concept. We will source your bulk wine. We've got 2 designers on staff to help you with your labels. We'll print your labels. We'll buy your glass. We will take the alcohol out of your wine using BevZero's technology. We'll then execute the blend and the recipe that you put together, do your filtration, bottle your wine, and we even have a warehousing solution for you. So it's really an end-to-end service. In the middle of that service is what happens is after we buy your bulk wine, what you'll do is you'll come to our offices and sit down with our team of experts, and we take the alcohol out of a big selection, and we spend a day with the winemaking team helping you through the process of creating your blend. If you are going the no-alc route, there's a lot of different additives you can put into the wine to add back some mouthfeel, help with essences, help with aromatics. We do all that. We're experts at that. And the beauty of it is at the end of that day, you own your recipe, that's yours. And then we can take it and execute it in our facility and execute your dream.
So that process is where you sort of get their approvals and you finalize what the final product would look like from your facility, and then about 3-4 days process for a container?
Really good question. So the key piece here is once you take the alcohol out of the wine, you have a very short window, and I mean like 6 days, to where that wine needs to be in a package, be it a can or a bottle. I mean, the time bomb starts ticking.
So you cannot go back in stainless
Yeah,
steel.
so, you can, but you need to be ready to bottle it as soon as it hits wherever it's going.
Sure.
That's the beauty of having our facility as a one-stop shop. We control the day the alcohol comes out, and our team at the winery is ready to receive it, filter, bottle, execute. So we take some of that hurdle out of the process. I mean, everybody who's out there has had, the issues, my glass is a little late, or my labels are going to be late. Well, that's a disaster when you're talking.
Because you can entirely control the raw material part of the business, right?
Yep. Yeah, and if if there's a problem coming at us down the way, we can react, and perhaps we don't take the alcohol out for a couple more days because our bottles are going to be late, something like that.
And is this beyond non-alcoholic as well? Like if I just say 500 cases of Chardonnay I would want from Sonoma, and maybe 400 make it no and low. Do you do that as well, or it has to be just?
We do them both. Yep,
right.
Those would be 2 separate exercises,
you can
obviously,
service that
but we can service
as well.
both. Yeah, absolutely, and we do. Thanks for visiting us today and listening to everything we had to say. We look forward to hearing from you. Come find us at BevZero.com or WineHooligans.com.